A helicopter moves through the smoke above a burning city. The reporters inside stare down in silence as giants tear through buildings and trees like the world is made of paper. And the worst part, it is the way the giants pick humans up and eat them without hesitation. He asks what happens to them if one of those things looks up. His friend tells him they will be fine as long as they keep their distance. That is what the research team said. The largest giant is still standing near the gate. The others spread out across the city. The reporter says it looks like the big one is guarding the entrance, or maybe it is waiting for something to come through. The cameraman says the giant does not feel alive. It breathes, it moves, but it feels empty, like a machine following a program. The reporter shuts that down. If it was just a machine, the military cannons would have destroyed it already. 30 giants appeared. 2 are dead after 2 full days. That is the reality. And if this keeps going, the damage will not stop at one city. At the Ajin Guild office, Jin-woo watches the same broadcast. His face is pale. He asks Jin-woo if he is seriously thinking about going to Japan. The guild master talks about opportunity. If they succeed, the Ajin name will spread worldwide. Then Jin-woo suddenly declares he is going too. He says it loudly and points at the news articles about recent large gates and says Jin-woo's name is never mentioned. He is the one standing next to him every time. That is the only thing he can claim. Being by Jin-woo's side is his pride. Jin-woo says he wants to go wherever Jin goes. If Jin-woo survives, then he will survive too. Jin-woo smirks and walks toward the door. He tells him he was joking about Japan, tells him to go home because he looks like a sulking kid. On the walk back home, the noise of the city feels distant. Jin-woo thinks about his limits. He still cannot fully rely on the shadow soldiers. The architect was around his level. That means there are enemies stronger than him out there. Japan is not just another raid. It is a battlefield that could expose every weakness he has. He greets his mother when he gets home. The warmth of the house feels fragile compared to the chaos on the screen earlier. He considers dropping the idea entirely, but gates keep opening, and standing still is also a choice. He has to decide which kind of man he is going to be before the world decides for him. In solo leveling, Jin sits down with his mother for some incredible food, all while thinking about the decisions in front of him. "I'm sorry," Jin says, sliding the check back across the table. "I don't think there's anything I can help you with." Chairman Yu asks in confusion how Jin's mother recovered, and Jin replies that if he truly knew, he wouldn't have kept it a secret. Jin then tells the him he has to leave. In the elevator, Jin-woo thinks he should have been honest with Jin-ho's father, but he still doesn't really know him or what kind of man he is. On top of that, the holy water of life is limited, so he has to use it carefully. Despite the tempting offers, none of them swayed his heart, and Jin decides that if he's going to make a choice, it has to be now. While eating, Jin tells his mom that he is going, knowing that with so many others stronger than him, he needs to remain on the battlefield. His mother mentions how his father used to rush through meals whenever someone called for him, and she offers to help Jin pack. After dinner, while Gina lies in bed, Jin quietly steps into her room, saying they need to talk. He sits on the edge of the bed, wondering where to even begin, before admitting that he almost died recently. Well, he almost dies all the time, but this time it was actually going to happen. But he made it out, and he's grateful for every time he's been able to come back. "So this time I'll come back too," he says. He then thanks his little sister for stopping him from going earlier. She says he would have left anyway, and he agrees, promising to protect her no matter the distance. He and Chairman Gu speak confidently at a press conference and shake hands. Later at the airport, Jin-ho walks around carrying expensive gear, while Jin stands there looking sharp as ever. The Ajin Guild heads to Japan. Doctors are devastated upon hearing that the army trucks only have room for 4 people, while they have more than 10 patients who can't move. A soldier explains that they can't afford to focus on those who might die at any second, because the giants are closing in. However, the doctors refuse to abandon them, insisting they will protect their patients. "Then I will stay too," the soldier declares, saying he can't run away while civilians are still there. At that moment, 2 giants loom over the group. The army starts firing as one of the giants reaches down to seize them. The soldier shields an elderly couple, but just before the giant can grab them, a trident pierces the giant, hurling it backward. The soldier is left stunned as a massive shadow monster stands in front of them, and he questions what he is seeing. That's when Jin-woo appears, warning the soldier that it's far too dangerous and they must evacuate immediately. Suddenly, chunks of debris crash down from the roof, but Jin-ho arrives right in time to protect the elderly couple. He tells Jin that he will remain behind while they assist with the evacuation. "All right," the dripster replies. Jima lets out a roar as he drives his trident into the other giant's chest, smashing it into the surrounding buildings. Jin sprints along the serpent's back, launches himself into the air, and slices across the monster's face, cutting it clean in half. In solo leveling, a man asks if Sung Jin-woo went to Japan. His friend replies that he heard Lady Selner hasn't released even a fraction of his power. "He's going to die," Baldy comments. Sharkboy says that all of their abilities were enhanced by Lady Selner, and he should understand better than anyone that ordinary hunters have limits. He then asks if he's a reawakened, and Scarface responds that he's clearly getting drunk on his own strength, questioning whether he truly believes his bugs can match giants, adding that hunters who overestimate themselves always end up dead. "I'll bet my yacht he dies in a day. I'll bet my house he dies in 2 days." "All right then, Jin, are you certain about that? Thomas Andre cuts in. He then wagers the Scavenger Guild's headquarters that Jin will survive. He adds that they should concentrate on the S-tier gate that appeared on their side since the dungeon break is tomorrow, wondering how many of them will still be alive by then. Thomas says it might have been more entertaining to join the action in Japan instead of staying in the United States, but he's confident things will become exciting here tomorrow regardless. Back in Japan, reporters watch in shock as they announce that Jin's summons are overwhelming the giants. The massive giants are being eaten alive by insects, he says. At the same time, a girl runs desperately when a shadow flashes past, severing the giant's hand. The girl stumbles away as the giant howls in agony. Iron then drops from the sky, roaring before crushing the monster's head and slamming it into the ground. Igris and the girl turn to see the fearsome Iron standing triumphantly on top of the giant's corpse. He grins, while Igris, unimpressed, gently pats the child on the head. Looks like Iron is thrilled about his promotion, Jin says while acknowledging Iron's solid performance. A soldier expresses his gratitude, then awkwardly points his thumb at Jin, returning the thanks and leaving him startled. The guildmaster then instructs Jin-ho to escort the man and finish the evacuation, and he agrees. The vice guildmaster guides the man away, and Jin thinks, now then, it's time to get serious. Arise. Reports come in as multiple cities are freed across Japan. Stunned, Matsumoto questions how this could be happening, realizing that Goto may have been right from the moment he saw Jin's eyes at the airport. Out of all the hunters he has encountered, Jin was overwhelmingly powerful. Matsumoto introduces himself and immediately gets to the point, informing Jin that the giants are advancing toward Osaka and that he should focus on protecting that city first. Matsumoto believes that regardless of Jin's strength, defeating every giant alone is impossible, so they plan to negotiate with other nations while he stalls them. I refuse, Jin responds, leaving the Japanese officials speechless. Matsumoto asks what he intends to do. Despite his doubts, Matsumoto comes to understand that Jin plans to handle all the giants on his own. Jin thinks while staring at the giants, considering what to name them. He decides on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, with the one Baru just defeated being number 6. The Shadow Monarch tells Jin-ho to prepare without him, since he will use Shadow Exchange to move around and create more soldiers. Jin understands that it has felt easy up to now, but this is likely only the beginning. He decides on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the hunters with the one Baru just defeated being number 6. With Jin's vast mana reserves, the Shadow Monarch tells Jin-ho to prepare without him. The drained giants stand no chance to move around and create more soldiers. However, additional dungeon breaks have erupted throughout Japan up to now, due to the S-rank but this is likely only the beginning. As a result, lower-tier monsters are spreading through the cities alongside the giants and eliminating evacuation and suppression efforts to occur simultaneously. On the 7th night of the dungeon break, Jin-woo and his vice guildmaster walk through the devastated streets, noting the complete destruction around them. Their attention shifts when Hanakawa appears, asking about any other hunters nearby. She informs Jin that she is the only one left in Tokyo. She continues, explaining that they do not even have an accurate count of the total casualties, and that the giants have scattered across the entire country. It is revealed that 16 S-rank hunters were deployed throughout Japan. 6 Japanese, 2 Chinese, 3 Canadian, 2 Indian, 1 Russian, and 1 from the UK. 6 teams altogether. Among the fallen were Uri Orlov from Russia, Hanzawa Kuki of the Black Hole Guild, and Canada's Lucas Hoyle. Because most giants travel in groups, the situation proved more challenging than facing an A-rank gate boss. Jin assumes that many A-ranks perished as well, since even 3 S-rank hunters have fallen. In total, 31 giants appeared, one of which is heading across the sea toward China. They severely lack the forces needed to protect all of Japan. But because of Jin-woo, the majority of the giants have been eliminated. The rest are being handled by the Shadow Army and the surviving hunters. Alright then, Jin figures that only one task remains for him. Jin-woo reflects on how the scenery feels strangely familiar. Even though nothing is on fire, the devastated city reminds him of the Demon Castle. He considers that the Demon Castle might have been a clue from the system and questions what the architect was trying to convey. The architect is already gone, and since there has been no sign of him since that time, that might have been his true body. Even if the Demon Castle was a warning about what's to come, Jin only needs to prevent it from becoming reality, saying that everyone is present and it's time to start. Hanakawa points out that there are no other hunters in sight, but Jin firmly repeats that everyone is already here. Nearby, Kanai shows her frustration as she takes a seat. Minoru tells her that while it may be irritating, everything has been handled, so it's ultimately a positive outcome. Though she agrees, Kanai remains unhappy, thinking about how no one seems concerned about the giants they struggled so hard against. Now they're heading to Tokyo, leaving the giants barely alive, almost as if they expect them to clean up the aftermath. She mutters, calling the summons bothersome. Shadow soldiers stand prepared throughout the city. Hanakawa scans the area, noticing the higher-ranked summons positioned in the back and numerous lower-ranked ones forming a perimeter around them. Jin's generals bow as Baru drops from the sky, slamming into the ground behind Jin-woo. Greeting the ant, Jin commends everyone for their efforts before telling Jin-ho to escort Hanakawa and stay at a safe distance. Commanding his enemies to reveal themselves, a row of giants emerges before him. Jin lifts his arm, summons his army, and gives the order to attack. Baru lets out a piercing screech as the Shadow Army rushes forward, pouring into the city like a tidal wave. The forces storm toward the enormous giant, but as they close in, a sharp glint flashes in the creature's creature's eyes, putting the Shadow Monarch on edge. In an instant, the giant disappears, tearing through the army and cleaving their formation in half with a single swing. Jin is stunned by the giant's overwhelming strength as the blow wipes out more than 100 of his soldiers. The giant is colossal. The aura it radiates is intense enough to make Jin feel the urge to retreat immediately. He wonders how a monster like this could even exist, especially when it's capable of unsettling him. He knows there are only two ways to deal with that feeling: run from the source and ignore it, or eliminate it completely. When a shadow giant tries to launch a sneak attack, the massive creature casually blocks Tusk's fireball with its palm and slices both summons apart in one smooth motion. Ants crawl over and bite at its huge foot, but the giant shakes them off with a brutal kick. Baru prepares to move in, yet Jin raises his hand and signals his generals to hold back. This level of resistance was expected. Jin understands he still has mana to burn, so he pushes the assault to uncover the monster's weakness. Jima and another shadow giant charge in, only to be destroyed as well. Jin realizes the creature barely bothers to defend because its mana wraps around its body like armor. Still, there was a moment when an attack slipped through. Summoning Kaisel, Jin leads his generals into a coordinated strike. Baru dashes at the giant, but the beast sidesteps, causing Baru to rebound off its mana barrier. Kaisel swoops down as Igris gathers power into his blade and unleashes a lightning-charged slash. The giant evades again and counters with a powerful swing, cutting down the wyvern climbing along its arm. The monster is caught off guard when Igris strikes once more. It raises its hand to block, but the blinding flash from the lightning creates an opening. Jin darts in and damages its right eye, confirming his suspicion. Baru immediately follows up, raking his claws across the giant's face. At the same time, Jin uses Ruler's authority to summon all his daggers, diving into close combat with the towering beast. As the giant thrashes wildly, Hanakawa realizes this has stopped being a fight between a hunter and a monster. It has become a clash between two monsters. Jin-ho watches with pride as Jin relentlessly tears into the giant's face, eventually activating Mutilate to shred its eyeball. Blood sprays as the giant screams in pain. Jin calls for Baru, who plunges into the creature's ruined eye socket and repeatedly uses Mutilate from within. Jin keeps slicing from the outside, while Baru rips into the beast internally. With its face mangled and blood pouring from its mouth, the giant finally collapses to its knees. He receives a notification that the enemy has been defeated, and he levels up several times. Standing on top of a building, Jin notices that the system message only says, "You have defeated the enemy." The message, "You have killed the owner of the dungeon," never appeared, meaning the raid still isn't finished. As expected, no black smoke rises from the corpse, so Jin cannot extract the shadow either. Suddenly, something draws his attention. Jin immediately summons a dagger while signaling Jin-ho to stop. "My king," a voice says from the giant's mouth. From its eye, Baru reveals himself. Jin realizes that it's just Baru, and notes that the magical energy is so overwhelming that it can hide Baru's presence, even though the giant is already dead. All of a sudden, the gate violently bursts, startling Jin-woo. Feeling the intense surge of magical energy, he quickly wonders if Jin-ho is safe. Relieved, he shifts his focus back and notices that the gate is absorbing the giant's magical energy as a crack begins to appear. Jin is surprised, since magical energy has never been strong enough to tear open space like that. After telling Jin-ho to stay where he is while he checks what's happening inside the gate, Jin moves forward. Jumping into the gate, Jin finds himself inside a massive hall, which makes sense since giants would need a space this large to pass through. Baru asks if his master can hear that strange sound, and Jin confirms that he can. Hearing the eerie laughter echoing through the hall, Jin-woo sarcastically wonders if it's really that funny to have enemies invade your gate and keeps moving forward. Hilarious. Hilarious. You wretched rulers. Look who has discovered me first. Welcome, Monarch. The giant reveals that he is a monarch too. He further explains that both the monarchs and the rulers are likely targeting Jin-woo. In his current state, Jin lacks the power to confront them all and will eventually need allies. The creature urges Jin to free him from the seal, promising that he will offer his assistance in return. Jin questions whether he is seriously supposed to trust that a monster would help a human. Saying that he will make Jin believe him, the monarch begins chanting a mantra, which immediately puts Jin on alert. Jin starts summoning his dagger. Suddenly, the system informs Jin that the king of giants, Regia, has activated the skill pledge of honesty. This ability guarantees that neither the person who activates it nor the one who accepts it can lie once it takes effect. After thinking about it for a moment, Jin decides to accept, which removes their ability to lie to one another until the contract ends. Regia once again asks Jin to release him from the seal, assuring him that he will help. Jin sarcastically replies, "Right, I completely believe you." Jin becomes confused and starts drawing blanks as the monarch explains that this is the effect of Pledge of Honesty, a curse that prevents either of them from lying. Realizing this, Jin wonders how the King of Giants can communicate so clearly with him, unlike the other monsters he has encountered. Clarifying his question, Jin refers to the monsters that come out of the gates. The King of Giants reveals that those creatures are the denizens of the Chaos World. He then asks Jin a question of his own, wondering how Jin could possibly place the mere denizens of the Chaos World on the same same level as the monarchs who rule over them. The denizens of the chaos world that emerge from the gates are actually remnants of defeated armies, those who were captured after losing to the armies of the rulers. They have been restrained for such a long time that their egos and minds have gradually deteriorated. However, unlike them, a monarch is a king and has preserved his sanity, patiently waiting for the distant day when he could finally escape from his confinement. Jin then asks if the armies of the rulers he mentioned are the soldiers dressed in silver armor with wings on their backs. Regia confirms that those are indeed the soldiers of the rulers. Jin then asks why they keep sending those monsters, those creatures, toward them. Regia smiles. Regia explains that they are preparing for a war and intend to transform this world into a battlefield so they can fight the monarchs once again. Not understanding, Jin wonders how sending the monsters to Earth turns it into a battlefield. It's simple, Regia says. It's all to inject magical energy here. If monsters were calamity spawned from the gate, magical energy was a blessing from the gate. Not only did hunters think this, but so did most civilians. Magic crystals and magic stones. These objects imbued with magical energy were the greatest sources of energy in the world, but they were all footholds for the war. Regia explains that there is no better way to propagate non-existent power than using the blood of those who already possess power. So the rulers decided to use their captives. The density of magic energy grows by the day. The rulers' plan is to create a world strong enough to endure the effects of war. And by war, Jin means another battle between the monarchs and the rulers. Soon enough, Jin's world will become a living hell. Telling Jin that there is no time left, Regia says that once it becomes known that they have made contact, both the monarchs and the rulers will intervene. It's even possible that the rulers have already begun to move since they have been targeting him from the start. Jin asks why, and the monarch replies that he truly knows nothing. He explains that the power Jin possesses isn't actually his. The fact that he holds it proves that the original owner has betrayed the monarchs, which means Jin has become an enemy to both the monarchs and the rulers. Swearing that he will fight by Jin's side, Regia asks if he will help free him. However, Jin says that if the monarch is going to fight on his side, it would be better to simply turn him into a shadow soldier. Suddenly, Regia becomes alarmed, as for a moment Jin looked like someone else. He tells the shadow monarch that both monarchs and rulers possess spiritual bodies. When spiritual bodies are destroyed, they completely disappear, meaning they cannot be turned into shadows. Therefore, he cannot become Jin's soldier. He asks once again to be released. Jin, now understanding, begins to feel uneasy, sensing that something is wrong. Jin slowly walks closer with his dagger. As Regia demands to be unchained, Jin asks again if he is truly on his side. Regia answers that of course he is. If Jin helps him, he will help Jin as well. It's a fair and absolute deal between two monarchs. He looks at his freed hand, swearing that for a moment he thought Jin would destroy the second chain. Jin again asks, "Are you on humanity's side?" The monarch remains silent, and Jin questions why he won't answer. Is it because of the pledge of honesty? The mana crystal embedded in the back of your neck? As long as that is there, you can hear the ruler's command to kill all humans, just like the other monsters. Grinding his teeth, Regia suddenly grabs at Jin-woo, but Jin dodges it and says to forget about the deal. It's too dangerous to keep you alive. He then plunges his dagger into the giant king's chest. As Regia begins to lose strength, he tells the shadow monarch that he is wrong. The true calamity isn't him, but Sung Jin-woo. Handing Jin the eyeball, he suddenly tries to bite a piece of his head, but Jin quickly ducks and stabs the king of giants once again. Regia swings at him again, but Jin swiftly evades and repeatedly stabs him without hesitation. Regia tells Jin that the battles between the people of Earth and the denizens of the Chaos world will only grow more intense, turning Jin's world into a battlefield. He tells Jin that he hopes everything he wishes to protect will burn to ashes in the flames of war. Jin responds that it won't happen, and instantly blitzes the monarch, slicing his head off and defeating the dungeon master. The system then notifies Jin that he has defeated the monarch of beginning, Regia, one of the 9 monarchs. Saying it's a shame he couldn't turn the monarch into a shadow soldier, Jin instead takes the magical item as Regia's body fades away. Jin gains a huge number of levels, and officially reaches level 122. Meanwhile, in America, a helicopter lands and 2 people walk toward the doors of a mansion. National rank hunter Christopher Reed says he wasn't expecting visitors today as he greets the deputy director and Lady Selner. They respond by saying they have an urgent matter to discuss and request that everyone leave the room. Telling his servant not to let anyone near the room until the 2 leave, Christopher asks what brings them to his home. He assures them that if it has anything to do with the S-rank gate in the east, he is not going. However, Lady Selner tells him they are not here to discuss the S-rank gate, but something far more serious, informing Mr. Chris that he may be killed in the near future. This picks up next time.